Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome back to Beyond Your Radio. This is Unknown Sundays. It's time to talk about band, artists, or something in the music multiverse that might relatively be unknown or missed, that our watchers, collectors, listeners might be interested in. A rabbit hole to go down, so to speak, whether it was the past and the present. Please remember that this is an extension of the article section on beyondyourradio.com. So if you want the full details written there, it's there to go to. This is another story of a man on a mission, which he usually accepted once a week or even twice if on a weekend the opportunity presented itself. This is the story of an addict who could not drive by a record store. That's actually a lie. It's actually within 8 to 10 miles of a record store and not stop in. This is the story of the second trip to the same store in a week where the mood was low, that expectation of finding something is very limited when you're coming back to a place only having been there a few days ago. Visits like these were kind of the equivalent of looking at the BMG list that would come in the Sunday paper and trying to find the 10 CDs that you would get for free, which just later became an impossibility for me. Pretty much. Going into the store on a day like this meant a deeper dive. It meant a slower unit by unit search and a little bit more studying of the album covers rather than a flip and a disconnect, right? Sometimes it required grabbing it, looking at it, looking at which record label, because we're taking a chance usually. These were visits that would be time consumptive, no question, with the purpose of coming out with something, anything to fill the music need or void and into my looming collection if there was some vacancy that might have been calling out to me. That's it's like the spirits of the void in between the collection. We need a U. We haven't bought a U in a while. That's the addiction of the collector's curse, I guess they call it. In actuality, that vacancy, to be honest with you, is usually depression. A need to curb it, use it, but that's a story that goes down a different path, and it's not for this show. On this day, it's all about filling that need to find something I was willing to take a chance on, or for the reason only I would know when I saw it, when I found it. What I found was a heavy metal supergroup of which I didn't know the parts, nor had I a single album of any of the famous participants. This is New Orleans' Down on Unknown Sunday 2025, which came to me via their album NOLA, Sitting in a Used Bin. A supergroup that I didn't know. All I knew was when I selected it, it was that I loved to eat at NOLA's. And it had a New Orleans Saint logo. New Orleans is one of my favorite cities in the United States, and I'm a food lover. NOLA's special to my heart for particular reasons, and I have had many a good time in the New Orleans area. So why not? I had a feeling it was going to have a very heavy metal process, considering the logo and the coloring. We're talking about a grayish, dark cover, not much. It looks scratched and scraped and used, and the colors were depressive, so that's a check mark. The title of the band fit the depression heavy billing, so that's a check too. And it had a very unkept, raw look to it, which may be a check, but also could have been that the production was going to be bad. What do I know, right? So enter Phil, the lead vocalist. He's from Pantera. Oh, I know that band. Super Joint Ritual, not a clue on that one. Pepper Keenan, that's guitar backing vocals. He was from Corrosion of Conformity. I knew of them. Jeff Young, I think, had an album or two at the time. Jimmy Bauer, drums. He's from Crowbar and I Hate God. Crowbar I've gotten into recently, but I Hate God, I don't think I've ever listened to a single solitary album or track. I think when I go into this, I think I'm slipping into some very heaviness that I might not really enjoy at that point in the timing of it. And then there's Kirk Weinstein, not Weinstein, holy cow, Kirk Winstein, guitars, backing vocal. He was also from Crowbar, I believe. So I paid $7.99 and I walked out of the store with maybe a decent hour worth of work. But I felt like I had all the signs pointing to a worthiness, a dark something. However, I don't think I was really expecting what I got. And I know to this day, Down remains one of those bands that when I put it on, I'm struck by the overwhelming power and authority and heaviness of their respect and transformation of blues to their system. You saw what I did there, right? No, I sometimes I'm all about myself, I guess, and thinking maybe people are System of a Down. No, okay. Anyway, yeah, that's why I need people on these shows. I don't know whether the joke worked or not. Sludge, stoner metal in the realm, right? I don't think any of those names were formed as a category at this point when I got this. I don't think, especially certainly not during the making of NOLA, which we're talking about 1990 to 1994. Pantera, Crowbar, Corrosion of Conformity, they got to keep things going. They're heavy metal genre bands that needed to make albums, tour, and deal with what was going on. So it takes longer to develop these supergroup projects. 90s heavy metal, the survivalists of the quake of grunge, basically. I'm not saying the title is wrong when I talk about sludge and that, but at the time, I don't think people were calling Alice in Chains sludge, or anyone for that matter. Although I know that the Melvins were considered the inventors, although I never think a band goes out to invent a sound. I think it just happens, and later they get named, placed to it. So what I hear is very metal-driven blues, and Down is the perfect band name. No matter the darkened riff or intensity, it does all seem like it's heading down to some very, very bottom. No matter the darkened riff or intensity, it does all seem like it's heading very down. They are fucking the very fucking bottom is all I can say. And I'm immediately hooked and utilizing Rehab and Stone the Crow as an interesting backdrop to my creativity at the time, writing novels, marketing, and anything else that was going on at the time. One more thing that has to remain clear here too. I didn't purchase this probably until nearly 2000. So that, one album and nothing in the news section under their name. In fact, they don't even have a tab. So, bands that know there's a catalog usually have a tab in the insert of the CDs or in the records too. So they would just be in miscellaneous Ds with a bunch of albums. So while I describe the heaviest of metal blues that has strong comparison to Black Sabbath and others in that realm, it's the vocal delivery that's very raw, very effective in a deeper, harder Sammy Hagar kind of way, if you understand where I'm coming from. This album allows the lyrics to rise with the near nonstop intensity that the band brings from all angles, as well as even when they hit the acoustics. And they do that with the song Jail and Pray for the Locusts. These two shorter songs within a 56-minute recording showcase to me that these metal men, raw as they were, could truly play, as well as the music appreciation for sound, but hearkening to a past darkness that could easily shift into the 60s and 70s kind of feel. A successful purchase for me, a growing love and appreciation for metal, and a hit of adrenaline to my CD catalog, and thirst for new unheard music, right? Now enter A Bustle in Your Hedgerow, Down 2. Broken can't flee, trapped in a time zone. There's no place like home. 7 years later, Not that I truly understood that because of my later finding of the band, but I guess with all the side projects and creativity and touring, they just didn't have the super group get together time that was necessary to make album. Well, I guess I'm fine with that, but the funny part was I wasn't even looking for them. I kind of thought they were one and done. In fact, I didn't get it until I kind of downloaded it from Audio Galaxy. I mean, I was always looking on that platform for just bands and albums that I might have missed. There sometimes were albums that never got produced that somehow wound up on places, or outtakes, bootlegs, those kind of things that I filled in my audio need from. So I had to check it out when I saw it there. The rawness definitely remained, but down definitely up the magnitude, the metal, and the vocalized intensity. This was harder. The songs were dripping with harsh riff, sludgy paces hitting at groove, but emphasizing more of the metal on all sides. And I'm pretty sure that even in the discussion of this album, the band talks about how intoxicated and drug-induced most everything was at this point. So this was harder, just no question. It took me a bit of time, but it suddenly became an album favorite in my darker collection. A Man That Follows Hell pretty much says it all. And it's funny that the United States marketplace didn't take to it as well, where the United Kingdom magazines were touting this as that album of the year for 2002. And it's 1 hour and 5 minutes. That's extremely long for a heavy metal album back then. So NOLA and Down 2 compete usually each year for the prize of favorite album in the catalog at that point, but it doesn't end there. Where the lead vocalist, guitarist, drummer have never wavered. Those stayed the same. The bass did have some changeover in personnel, but I mean, that's kind of to be expected in a band of super groups and people coming in and out of processes and stuff. So despite that, the bass doesn't seem to come as forward as it did. But Rex Brown joins. He's from Pantera, I think, and Crowbar as well. So he becomes the bassist. And of course, it's more about the timing, touring, and all that again. However, I did grab this next album, which is Over the Under, which is Down 3. The minute it came out, it just seemed like this had a slightly better production approaches, but still hitting that hard, raw, almost demo-ish kind of thing, right? These are polished demos, really. This is what it sounds like. I mean, the band definitely doesn't have the thought process of trying to make something, making darkness prettier, which I enjoy. That keeps the bluesy, it keeps the riff, it keeps it honest, and the guitar work wickedly approaches every riff. It's bluesy metal, and the bass and drum laying heavy grooves to pace it perfectly. So this is a good record too. They also added keyboards, and they couldn't resist adding a bonus track on the Japanese version because it wasn't an hour long. So in 2012 came the biggest shock. Color. The band had always had this black and white, grayish mojo to the albums, and here we turn to purple. Yeah, that's right. Down 4, The Purple, Part 1. 33 minutes, thanks to, again, the hidden track technique. It's a full album almost for those of today. They also kind of went a bit back to the beginning with the rawness. So they kind of moved away from that production of album 3. You might even say that the sludge is non-existent or morphed toward more of a metal or hard rock guitar manifestation that hits that Black Sabbath and Deep Purple much, much more like the front 2 albums, which is just perfect to me in the wheelhouse of things. Like the song Witch Tripper showcases that immaculately. Part 2 would share these same similarities, even hitting harder at the Black Sabbath on Conjure. but it's still going way, way darkly down. I will say there's a bit more showcasing of production and background and microphonics happening in part one to push the density of the record, not to trip you up. So if this is the conclusion, they played it well, parts 1 and 2, because there's nothing at this point that they have forthcoming, although in Wikipedia it does state that the band still had no intentions of stopping. They were putting together an album, maybe. I still reach to these 2 EPs when I need a certain kind of fuel. The albums as well. It's Dark and Blues Ride to Take Me Somewhere. These guys can take me there and get me back safely, always. It's just the way it is. When you have a name of this nature, you better fucking deliver. And that's what this name does, and the band. So why didn't I save this for Keep It Dark? It just felt like this was the great lead off to the week. Mardi Gras is this Tuesday. And considering the band's attachment to Crowbar, as well as the sludge of the 90s, while named much later, would join the Melvins and Acid Bath, as well as other bands, more so, especially in today's marketplace, with stoner sludge metal. I thought the timing was very much perfectly for NOLA. Down are from the city, but nothing like the music that made New Orleans famous. And as I take many memory walks down Bourbon Street, I can't help thinking about all those times I heard the music playing from one bar to the next. Some I went in experiencing the blues, jazz, and the Preservation Hall Band, which is just something you have to do. All those nights seemingly endless, and wonder, and how cool it might have been to hear ghosts along the Mississippi from one of the establishments, bellowing above the din of a voodoo shop down the street, or mixed in with the smell of really rad gumbo, or clashing with the clattering of beads on the cobblestone, along with the yelling required to get them. New Orleans is a unique place, which used to be filled with a bit of a slow brewing mystique. It had a certain succumb to a lot of darker qualities and just a spellbinding kind of thing. But now it's sort of been influenced by the music of the world today and the semi-degraded entertainment themology that has metastasized like a tumor. But within the hidden layers, don't go there alleyways, there's an interesting shadow cast by the light of the town's seemingly endless moonlight. You never know what you'll hear or find by chance down any given street that exists in the great city in the outskirts of New Orleans. Albums of Down, I have all of them in my collection. NOLA, the debut in 1995. Down 2, which is subtitled A Bustle in Your Hedgerow, which is, yes, a reference to the Led Zeppelin Stairway to Heaven. Down 3, subtitled Over the Under in 2007. Down 4, which is part 1, Purple, 2012. Down 4, part 2, which didn't have the purple in the title, which I don't know whether that's an error on our part, 2014. What did you think of the heavy metal sludge supergroup Down? Did you know the band, the project, some of the side projects? Should I be in there? Should I be listening to? What do you think? Maybe hit the like button, leave us a comment or two, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you next week for Alan Walker on Unknown Sundays. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course. We got articles, videos, podcasts, might be starting in April. Albums, bands, artists, anything we can get our hands on. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Thanks for watching and happy listening.